Hello everyone. Okay, this is the new update for the chess game using C++. What I have here is two files. The first file is called the chess CPP and the second file is the header file of the chess game. Now the header file contains two classes. Each class will create different variables or different objects. The first one is going to create pieces. What I'm going to create 64 pieces. Doesn't matter if it's empty, it's going to be empty place or empty spot, or is going to be a spot with the piece, with the name on. And I'm going to give every object a name, and I'm going to give it as well an address, a vertical address and a horizontal address for the function to get these addresses or to get these variables, and another functions or more functions to get the variables or to set them. Now the second class is called the board class, which is going to create one object every game, and it has one variable. This variable is going to hold the string of these draw or signs to create the final picture of the board. Now of course there's a function to set the board, like to put the pieces in its places, and what's empty place and what's, what place that has, or what spot that has this piece, and also a set pieces location function. This is to, let's say, to set the beginning of the game, in the beginning of the game, to set all the pieces in their places. And there's another display function to display the board. So every move we do, we have to show the movement or the updates. And there is another function to check whether this spot is empty or not. Now let's talk about set its board, the function that takes as a parameter one array of a string as a parameter, which this array, I'm gonna define this array in the beginning of the second file. So I'm gonna have to pass it to this function, and this function, the member of the class that is gonna work on a member of the class, the function is a member of class, is gonna work on this string array, and it's gonna make sure that every it's gonna create its own array, okay, and it's gonna make it equal to the array I'm passing. Now for the second function display, I'm gonna display all the elements or all the signs or symbols of this board, let's say character by character. And for this set pieces location, I'm gonna pass the name, the horizontal address and the vertical address of each object I'm creating right here. So the array will not have any names on it, as the array of strings is going to show the board empty. But now I'm going to use the replace function, which comes or built in the string class that supplied by the compiler. And now I'm going to start from the horizontal address from where I specify. I'm going to move for two characters. I'm going to replace the first two characters with this name I'm passing. So the horizontal address, alright, and then I'm gonna move two characters and replace him with this. That means if it's like whatever the name is on that spot, I'm gonna change it to a different name, which is the piece that I'm gonna move. Of course I need to specify, carefully specify the horizontal address where I want to move him. I have to count them. I'm gonna show you this later. I want to show how to use this horizontal address. Now there is an empty spot. To check if there is an empty spot, I have to pass a horizontal address and a vertical address to see if there is a piece in there or not. Alright, for the empty spot function, I'm going to pass the horizontal and the vertical address. I'm going to use them as to specify the character. This is going to be the string. The horizontal will choose what line I'm in, and the vertical address will choose how far I'm going in that line, and then I'm going to check if the first character is, let's say, is going to be actually a space, because they changed that recently. So if it's going to be space, that means it's empty. If it's not, it has the name of like W or P, that means it has a black piece or white piece. Now, if you find it empty, then return true. That means the spot is empty. If it's not, then return false. And that's it for the header file. Now we're going to see the chess CPP, which has all the engine for the game. And of course, as usual, we're gonna include the iStream, include the string because we're using a lot of string in this program, and there is an std library, and also I'm using the std library because I'm using the absolute function. I'm gonna show you where to use it later. And there is another, of course, I'm gonna use the header file. I'm gonna include the header file of the chess game. Now, there is a prototype of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 functions. The first one is touch and move. I'm gonna, of course, this will be responsible of moving the stones or the pieces. And the second thing is gonna check, which is gonna be this check move is gonna be used by touch move function to check if this move is legal or not. Now there is an empty spot, of course. This is the function I'm going to use also inside. There is a function of empty spot is going to be used inside this place. Alright, and the fourth function is the piece function, which this function will let's say deduct what's the name of that piece that we're moving, and it's going to see if this, because every piece in the chess game it has a special move for it, so I need to check every piece. Every piece is going to be used by touch move function. It's going to be by check move function. I also want to check what piece I'm moving, so to know if the move is still illegal. And there is the switch number function. I'm going to show you this later what it does exactly. You pass an integer and a character as, like, if it's horizontal or vertical, like V or H. And the last one is reset board, which is I'm going to reset the board to the beginning. Now, if you go to the main function, as we specify, if you remember, we said that 26 lines of strings, and I'm doing here the numbers. If you look at numbers here, from 1 I choose 2, because if you start from 0, 1, 2. For the compiler is 2. For us is going to be, as for the user, is going to be 1. For the compiler here is 6. For us is going to be 2. That's how we're going to look at it. Now we enter 3, the compiler will understand 10, and so forth. For the vertical address, if you enter 1, the compiler will understand 2. If you enter 2, will understand 5, and so on. So that's what we're going to use the switch function to switch numbers from 1 to 2, from 2 to 6, or from 1 to 2 and 2 to 5, and so on. Now this is how the function will look, and I'm going to change as we use the set its board to set each piece in its place. Here is going to be a name of the piece, here, here, and so on. Let's go. Of course, I'm creating an object which is the first board for the game. I call it the game board, and of course I'm going to call the set function, set its board, to set this board to set its pieces, let's say. Now I'm creating an array of objects, 64 objects, as I said. It's gonna be like, you have 64 squares on the board, and I'm gonna reset the board, or the game board. I'm gonna reset it to begin with. Now, as long, after I reset, I'm gonna have to display it to the user, so the user knows what he's gonna move. And of course, I'm gonna show him this is the menu, like what to do exactly, how to play the game. And of course, I'm gonna set this exit variable as a boolean. just to know if I have to exit or not, if the user wants to exit, or there is a no boolean if it's white or black turn. So this is to tell the user this is a white turn or either a black turn. Now we're gonna go through a while loop. As long as exit is false, this loop will keep going. So there is two variables, touch and move, and of course I'm gonna have to read them and check if touch, which is the first entry, does not equal 0, it means the user will continue. Now I'm gonna have to read the touch and move, and of course we're gonna have to check the move. Check move function is gonna check if the move is bigger than 9, if it's bigger than 8, because what we have is 64 squares, which is 8 by 8. So we're not gonna be able to read any move or touch variables that's more than 8, or even less than 0, or less than 1, let's say. Now if we look over here, we're gonna see that we're using the touch move function, which is the biggest function I wrote in this program. This function will take care of everything. So from here, from the last reading from the user to displaying the second move or the second update of this board, all the work will be done in this function right here, this function. So the check move function will check only if it's bigger than if it's less than I mean from 1 to 8. And also the check move again, I use it on touch and move, and the touch move function is gonna check everything for us, if it's legal or not legal, if it's gonna move it or not. Of course the rest will be reading if it's let's say if it's white turn or black turn. If it's white and the move was already done, it was legal, so change it to black and stuff like that. And this is the end of the main function, and now we're gonna see the body of these functions. The touch move functions is accepting returning a boolean, just to see if it's legal or not. It takes an object of board, which is going to take the whole board of the chess game, and also the array of the objects, and is going to accept the touch the touch entry from the user and the move entry from the user, and is going to check if it's white turn or a black turn, and need to know that in turn to say if it's a legal or not legal move. What we have of course here is string, the name, touch, and the name of move. So every object, if you choose to touch a beast, that has a name, and also to move the beast or somewhere that has a name as well. Of course, like okay, touch, if it's already chosen, we're gonna use this. We're gonna show you what we're gonna use this variable, and these variables for the touch horizontal address and the touch vertical address, the move horizontal address, and the move vertical address. Of course, I divide by 10. This is the remaining of 10. Let's say if the user enter 11, so the touch horizontal address will be 1, and the touch vertical address will be as well 1. If I choose 21, so the touch horizontal address will be 1, and the touch the touch vertical address is gonna be 2, as well as for the move horizontal address or the move vertical address. And also after I use it, after I take it from the user, I divide these let's say numbers or digits from 21 to 2 and 1. I exchange them with the other numbers that I show you up here, from 1 to 2, or from 2 to 5, or 2 to 6, right here. That's what I'm going to use the function switch number for. And of course I'm going to show it's a horizontal or vertical exchange for the number. Now of course we're going to go through a for loop to check, searching for the touch piece, like to see if this address really exists or not. If it exists, if you find this piece on this address, the user decided to touch or to hold it, say, ready to move. And I'm gonna have to save the name of this piece into a new variable, as I call it the name of touch, name T. And if it's white and the name T is start with W, that means it's legal to move it. So he can move it if it's white turn and he's moving the white piece. Now we move to the, as long as this is true, now we move to the target, or like, you know, where the user wants to move the piece, if he wants to attack or just move it. Now we're gonna search for that. When we find it, we're gonna store it in a name of move, or like a name M. Alright, that's how we get it. We use the object and the object function. Of course, if it's white, alright, so if it's white and the target is not supposed to be white because I'm attacking a black piece, so I'm not supposed to attack it. Just make sure the name of move is not white. That's how you use not white. And of course I'm gonna check the beast now. Now it's time to check what kind of beast I'm moving and how should I move each beast. There is the beast which is gonna be the array of these objects, and there's the name, touch, and name move, and also add touch or add move, which is what the user entered. If you check over here, so what I'm entering here, add touch or add move, it's what the user actually enters. Alright. Now, we're gonna make sure that the beast, okay, if this is passes, if this is true, so if it's legal, then we have to move to do the changing here. So we're gonna set the name of this beast that we moved to the name of the beast that we touched, or like, you know, we hold. This is just like attacking or exchanging. And of course we're gonna set the location of this piece. This is to set the location of this piece. It's gonna be, of course, to get the name and the move horizontal and move vertical. Now, of course, we're gonna set the name of the piece that, okay, when we move the first piece, we're not gonna leave it like this, because if we leave it like this, it's gonna keep the name of the piece like it's gonna be two pieces on the same board. So we have to replace it with space. That means the piece is already moved, and we're gonna set the location of that piece as we did here. We're gonna let the board knows that what we did for the update. And the OK touch means the touch is okay and ready to go. Else, if it's not white and the name of the touch is black, so now the turn is going to be a black turn. We're gonna do the same thing exactly, of course, but it's gonna be different from when instead of white. You gotta make sure if it's not white turn, and also the name of the beast that I moved to is black. It's not black, I'm sorry. It's not white. The person who is attacking is not white. That means the person who is attacked is not black. It's gonna be white actually. Are we doing the same thing? And this is the body of a switch number. We get the number from the user and we get the character. The character is like we're supposed to choose between horizontal or vertical. If it's horizontal, that means we're gonna exchange from 1 to 2, 2 to 6, and 3 to 10, and so forth. If it's vertical, then we're gonna choose 1 to 2, 2 to 5, 3 to 8, and so forth. And now reset the board. Of course, this is the reset of the board. We're gonna see each piece. Here we have 8 objects of white power, which is, you know, we set the for loop to set all the locations. This is to set the name, and of course to set the vertical address, horizontal address. If you take a look, let's say if you look at it, you would see it's like, you know, all you need is calculation. to know where you need to put each piece. That's what I did. That's the name, and this is the vertical address, and this is the vertical address is gonna be different. And like actually I made a mistake by I replaced, instead of using the vertical address I used the horizontal address, but don't mind that, it's alright. All you have to think about, like, imagine where you put each piece in the array. And here for the also for the black pound, 8 objects, and there is also the white rock, 2 objects of the white rock. If you see here, from 16, like, as I said, I'm creating an array of 64 objects. So what I create here is 8 and 8, 16, and from 16 to 18 here is 2, and another one, of course, I'm creating this 2. If you look over here, I add 2, so that makes it 4, and instead of start 16 I start 20 here, and then from 20 I add another 4, which is white knight. I call it YN because I cannot use the K, I use it already for king. And now I'm using 2 white knights and 2 black knights, so I make it 4. I start from a 24 to 26 for, I'm sorry, from a 24 to 28 is gonna be black bishop or white bishop, 2 pieces each, and also 1 white queen, 1 black queen, and I have to know where I set each piece to be. If you can see round numbers here, and also I make sure I create from 32 to 64 is going to be all empty spaces. Remember, I have 32 pieces and I have 32 spots, empty spots. As we do here, you can check all this, and then this is the check move that I told you about. You have to make sure that it's less than 1, it's not less than 1, or it's not bigger than 8, or this for the second one as well, which is the move and touch. Now, the beast move, as I said, it takes as a parameter, it takes an array of objects, and it takes a string name, touch, and a string name of move, and the touch and the move. We're gonna work on that, of course. I make now, because some pieces you have to move from, let's say, the queen cannot jump a piece. So what I did is I make a variable, moving variable, which is going to be different from, like, each time I'm going to check it through a while loop. I'm going to check if there is no pieces right in front of you on the way to block the move of the queen. That's very important. I cannot jump no pieces on the chess game. Now there is, I'm gonna check if it's let's say if it's pound. If it's a pound, then I'm gonna check if it's white. Of course, there's a difference, and also you gotta set, like, if it's white, then you're gonna add 10 to the touch. If you look over here, let's go back, make it more clear. Let's say this is a white pound, is gonna be located here. If I want to move from 2-1, which is 21, to 31, so all I have to do is add 10 to the address, that makes it move here. That's if it's a white pound. So let's go back, see what we can do. Alright, so what I add is 10. And now, and I gotta make sure that if the name of move is empty only, it's like I'm not attacking, because the pound is different. When it attacks, it moves diagonal, and if it moves, it moves forward. Alright? So first I gotta check if it's not attacking. That means all you have to do is like add 10 to the touch, that gives you the move address. Now, else if the name move is not empty, that means the pound is attacking. So either way, I have to add 11, or I have to add 10, moving diagonal downward. Now if it's a black bound, then I have to check, of course, it's not attacking, and then I'm gonna subtract 10, or subtract that's if it's not attacking. If it's attacking, then I have to subtract 11 or 9. That makes it move diagonal and upward. Now if it's a night, of course this requires a lot of calculation to know if it's the difference. I make the absolute difference. If you remember, I used the STD library. This is to check the absolute value for horizontal or vertical, because the night will move as the letter shape L. So it's like either one, you move one to the left and like two up, or one up and two to the left. There's two different or many different ways to move it. That's how you check with this if statement, of course. Now if it's K, which is a queen, if you look over here, I'm using the array as like the name of each piece is like a string or an array of characters, which includes two characters. Now if I'm not choosing the first character, the first character is like either white or black. I don't care about that. All I care is the piece is K, which is the second character is K. That means it's a king. All I need to know the piece. Now the king has to move one spot each move. Of course the king requires a lot of work, but I did not work on if it's a checkmate or if it's like legal for the king to move or not. All I care about is like the king will be able to move one piece, at least for now. It requires a lot of work to do on the checkmate functions and stuff. Now there is like either way the difference is 1 or 11 or 9 and 10. Just remember these four numbers, and let me show you up here how does that work. If I'm right here, let's say I'm right here on this spot. Now what I have is 2, 24. I have 2 and 4, just 24. If I move here, it's going to be 23, which is one difference. There's one number. And if I move from here to here, it's going to be 13, which is minus 11. If I move here, it's going to be 14, which is minus 10. Or here, minus 9. Or here, 25 is going to be positive 1. So the absolute value is like either negative 1, like here, or positive 1, like here, and so forth. So all I'm going to make sure that the king move on this area, right here, side. Okay. Now it's the rook. How the rook would move? It's like either the moving horizontal equal the move horizontal. As I said, I'm using the mover horizontal because like I equal it to the touch horizontal, because I'm gonna change that. I don't want to change the touch horizontal. I'm gonna keep that variable to remember, and I'm using another variable to hold this and raise it. Each time I go in a while loop, I have to raise it, so I make sure every move I do, I need to check if this spot is empty or not, as well here. So if I say moving horizontal, it means like, you start from the touch horizontal to you going forward to the move horizontal. Now either the moving horizontal equal the move horizontal, which is the target, like the moving, or the places that I'm moving on is going to either equal the horizontal place of, or the horizontal value of the move, or the vertical moving will equal the move or the address of the move, vertical move. So that means like I'm going vertical or I'm going horizontal, no diagonal. And of course, while moving is bigger, so I have to like if it's moving is bigger than let's say the moving, what I said moving, it means the touching or the touch. That's what it equals actually, before I even raise it or change it. So when I say the moving horizontal, means I mean the touch horizontal. If it's bigger than a move horizontal, that means I have to decrease the moving. That makes me go, and instead of going down, oh I'm sorry, instead of going up I go down. And as well here, if the touch horizontal is less than the moving horizontal, so what I have to do is go up. And as well here for the vertical, I go up or down, the same thing. As I said, it's all about calculation. I need to know how the game has been working on, and how do you think about, like, representing the board of the game. And this is one of the ways that you have to do it, and I found it so easy to understand. Now, what I do is I have to update the moving. Every time I move, I have to update. So moving equals moving vertical times 10 to put it back as a normal address that the user enters for the computer to understand. Because when I say moving is going to be equal here while, there's a while loop right here. Say movement doesn't equal move. If moving equals move, that means I checked every piece between the touch and the target. So that means it's legal. If the while loop ends before it gives a return of false, it means the move was legal. As well as for the bishop now. The bishop you have to check as well if it's okay. When we move diagonal, it's either way, the touch or the move. The difference between them is going to be either nines, like let's say 9, 18, 27, that's the difference, or 11, which is like 11, 22, 33, 55, and stuff like that. If you look over here, let's check again just to make it easy to understand. Let's say if you move from here to here, from this area to this area, this spot, it's from 11 to 22, so the difference is 11. If you move from here to here, it's from 11 to 33, which is the difference 22. Alright, that's how I check. Or if you want to move from here, let's say from 44 to 35, that means you just like subtract 9. So either 11 or 9, doesn't matter if it's negative or positive, because I put the absolute value of that. Alright. That's what we got here. Okay. Yeah, the bishop. We're back in here. So as we said, we gotta check if it's bigger, or like the horizontal is bigger and the vertical is bigger. That means we have to add both of them, the moving horizontal and the moving vertical. If it's the moving horizontal is less than the touch horizontal, and the opposite for the vertical, moving vertical is less than the touch vertical, we have to do like a negative for both of them. Or if one of them is the horizontal of move is bigger than the horizontal of touch, and also the vertical of move is less than the vertical of touch, then we have to update. The horizontal has to go up and the vertical has to go down. That's the way you have to move the stone. You have to think about it. It's really confusing to talk about it, but you can figure it out if you think about it, or if you look at the board itself and check and figure out the numbers. As well as for the fourth choice. Now, as I said, we update the moving, and we check if it's not equal, because of this line, I make sure that the while loop does not reach the target. If it reaches the target, then it's going to find the piece in there, and it's going to refuse the move. So I put this just to make sure the while loop will not reach my target. Of course, if the while loop finished, that means the move was legal. If it's a queen, of course, you know what you're going to do. The queen moves as a rook, and it moves as a bishop together. So I do like for the rook here, and also for the bishop right here, and so on. And this is to check the empty spot. As I said, I think I would have the chess game right here. I think this is an extra. I don't think I used it. Right here, this function right here, I'm not supposed to use it, I think. I forgot to raise it. What I'm using here is this empty spot function, which is not a member function though. So this function will search through the 64 objects, and it's going to look for the address of this horizontal and vertical address. Alright, and it's going to make sure the name is not, if it's, I'm saying, it's going to make sure the name is empty, which is spaces. If it's empty, it returns true, it means empty. If it's not, so it returns false, and that's all. Now, let's run and see how the game will work. Let's go right here. So we'll make it bigger. Alright. Now, let's say we're gonna use first, of course, the white pen right here. Choose the piece you want to move. Let's choose the white pen right here, 2 and 1, which is 21. We're gonna move it to 3 1. Of course, like, you know, you're supposed to move it 2 pieces if you want, but like I did not put that rule, so you can just move it 1 piece for now. 3 1. There you go. It moves from here to here. Now it's a black turn. If I try to move the white pawn, it will never move again. No white piece will move. Now the black piece will move. So let's say I want to move this right here. The 1 and 7 4. So let's do it 7 4. I'm gonna move it to 6 4. 1 piece forward, and there we go, from here to there. Now I'm gonna have to move 1 white piece now. Let's say 2 and 2, 2, 3 and 2. And as you see, it moved. Now what I have to do is I wanna move this black bishop, and I'm going to move it up to, let's say, I'm gonna move this black pawn, which is 7 5. I should move it in the beginning. 7 5 to 6 5, and there you go. It moved. Now I have to move. Let's say I want to move the white rook, or let's say I want to move the white knight right here. 1 and 2. 1 2. I'm gonna move it to. I cannot move it unless I move it right here on 3 and 3. If I try something else, it won't work. So let's say if I try, let's say 2 1. See, I'm gonna try if it works. It did not accept it, so I have to use 3 and 3, and it worked. But, oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I should use. First, I should choose the white knight, which is 1 and 2. Okay, I should do like 1 2. I have to choose it first, and then I have to move to 3 3. Right there, it moves from here to here, and now it's the black turn. I want to move the black queen. I want to put it right here on 6 6. So 8 4 to 6 6. 8 4 to 6 6, and there you go. You get it right here. Now we have to move. I want to move the white rook. Move it from 1 1 to 2 1. 1 1 to 2 1, and it moves from 1 1 to 2 1. And now I'm gonna make I wanna move this one right here, the black pawn, from 6 4 to 5 4. 6 4 to 5 4, and it moves. Now I have to move, let's say, the white bishop from 1 3 to 2 2. So 1 3 to 2 2, and it moves right here if you see it. Now I want to move the black bishop from 8 6 to 5 2. From 8 6 to 5 2. I'm sorry. 8 6 to 5 3. I'm sorry. It's supposed to go 5 3, and I read it wrong. Okay, so 8 6 to 5 3, not 5 2, and it moves from here. It's supposed to be diagonal, so it moves right here. And now I'm gonna move the white queen from 1 4 to 1 1. So 1 4 to 1 1, and there we go. It moved. And now I'm gonna attack using a queen. I'm gonna attack this pawn right here, which is from 6 6 to 2 6. 6 6 2, 2, 6. And there you go. The black queen attacks and already checkmate, but like I did not work on that. So hopefully soon I can do it. And thank you very much for watching. Exit the game.